Welcome to today's podcast. We're here at Studio Lab in Derry, New Hampshire, an amazing production facility full of amazing technology, including an LED wall, a robotic camera, and all sorts of other amazing gear that we've been using to film a new product that we brought here today. And we have the team from Emerge. We're also joined by Ian Messina, who's Director of Virtual Production here at Studio Lab, graciously hosting us here in this amazing studio. We're also joined by Sly Spencer-Lee, co-CEO and co-founder at Emerge, as well as Isaac Castro, also co-CEO and co-founder at Emerge. Welcome, guys.
Thanks so much, guys. Happy to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So we had a chance with Ian to check out the Emerge Wave 1, an amazing piece of technology. Guys, tell us a little bit more about what this is and what it does.
Ooh, that's a lot to answer in just a soundbite. At a high level, we've built a product that allows you to physically feel a virtual object. So our dream was to physically connect and emotionally connect with someone across a large distance when we're not with them. So something as simple as a virtual high five. That's what we set out to create. And then on the way there, ended up enabling a lot more than just that.
Yeah, and it all started back in 2015 when we met, the three co-founders. Actually, today we are here just the two of us, but we co-founded this company with Mauricio Terán, and we have a big team of 40 people in LA and a small team in Seattle as well, and we are growing. But yeah, when we met, the three of us back in 2015, the idea that, well, we were immigrants or first generation and we wanted to have a better way to connect with the people that we cared about, that was very strong in us. I mean, it was part of our own experience and we wanted to work on that. So we started with the idea of transmitting emotions. Right? So what you see today, this Emerge Wave 1 device, provides the sense of touch because the sense of touch is a conduit towards expressing your emotions. We wanted to start with that, but we can talk later about where are we going in terms of product.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of questions. As I was saying, Ian and I got a chance to check this out, and it's really kind of a mind-boggling experience. It's hard to describe in words. We're going to try to do that in this podcast. We're probably also going to overlay some video on top of this so you can see, some of the shots that we got here at Studio Lab, along with kind of some overlays that Emerge has created to try to show how it works. But there's a lot of technology in this, and you guys have been working on this for many, many years. So we're going to go, into this in quite some detail in this podcast. But first, I'd love to ask you guys, you talked a little bit about the story of how you came about this. And in this industry of metaverse and kind of haptic and, all this technology, maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about the history of how this came about and what's out there today and how the Emerge Wave 1 differs from all the other kind of haptic, solutions that are out there right now.
Well, first of all, I really dislike the word haptics, and that's because while this could technically fall in that category, there's been many attempts in the space. Like the field of haptics has been around for 40 years or so. I think the first haptic glove was made in 1977. And people's connotation of haptics is extremely simple, like a vibration of a phone, or very cumbersome, putting on a haptic glove, haptic suit. And the end point when you describe haptics is touch. But as Isaac mentioned earlier, our end goal is not touch, actually. Touch is an input for the output, which is emotional. We express our emotions as humans through a variety of means, and right now, digitally, we only do that through our eyes and our ears, and touch is a third sense by which we can express the emotion. So we don't have a word for it yet, but we're trying to essentially create a new way to express emotions, and touch is one of them.
And how did you guys start with the understanding of, again, you could have gone with what he's saying is the haptic side of it, but you guys essentially created something that's never existed before. Where did that idea even come from? How do you even start to go, everybody's going this direction, we should go this direction? Where did that initially come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we could talk a little bit about that design process. So we started with the problem in mind. right? We said, okay, we share this pain of being separated from our people. And, today during the pandemic, we've been facing the same problem, all of us, with people around the globe, people that we can't see. And back then, that was the way we had. I mean, I had been separated from my people, from my friends and families for months at a time and across an ocean. So we looked for something that will allow us to bridge that gap, no? And the first thing that we realized was when we were looking into our communications that the sense of touch was lacking. And we are very grateful to these video calling technologies and our smartphones because essentially they enabled our lives as immigrants. But we were lacking something that was very important, no? So let's start with that, the sense of touch. The sense of touch, as Lai was mentioning, allowed us to express our emotions, right? Sometimes just holding the hand is more than enough to express how you are feeling or to tell someone that you are there for them. But also our hands is the way we explore the world. It is underestimated, really, because it's so ingrained in our brain that sometimes we don't realize that everything that we experience is based on touch first, right? Even the fact that we all have our feet on the ground right now is our brain is processing that information and allowed us to feel that we are in the same space. It's crazy, no? And we don't think about it often. So we said, okay, let's bring the sense of touch into our communications. And we started with the angle of emotion. We wanted to do something different that will allow us to express the emotions in a different way. And that was the first principle. The second principle, something that was very important for us, was we didn't want to build a glove company, right? We were imagining our grandmother in the future, 20 years from now, or well, in 2022, and we couldn't imagine them looking for a glove in the morning. Right? I wanna have a conversation with Isaac. What is my glove? And now I have to put it on. Oh, by the way, I want to have my cup of coffee. I need to put it off. Right? So we wanted something more simple, right? More intuitive, kind of like more connected to the real experience in the real world. And having that design principle in mind, something that was very natural and intuitive, we looked for technologies and we started exploring different technologies that will allow us to recreate that sense of touch in midair without having to wear anything, not a glove, not a controller on your hands. And we used ultrasound to achieve that dream.
It's pretty amazing, this controller-free or bare hand experience. And you're right, Isaac. It's much different than, when you're playing Oculus and you have the controllers in your hand. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, but you still are limited to that controller. And you're right. You can misplace controllers. You can bang it against something and it can break. And I mean, it is cumbersome. And you're right. It is much more. It's something that allows a lot more people to experience it. I mean, we saw it today here at Studio Lab. A bunch of us tried it, and everyone is able to you put on the headset and you start experiencing it. And it's funny what people do with their hands as they're doing it. Everyone did something a little bit different too, which is kind of interesting. But let's talk a little bit more about that technology, because when you see this device, you just see this, by the way, very clean design. I love the way it looks. But I mean, it looks simple on the outside, but it sounds like there's a lot of technology in here. Tell us a little bit about what's inside and how it actually works, this technology in there.
And we should talk about the design, actually.
Yeah, I could touch that real quick, actually. We've been a fan of really great design. As you've heard up till now, we were interested in design from the entire user experience perspective, and obviously the industrial design of the product, the look and feel of it, was important to us as well. We were pretty fortunate to have met a famous car designer in LA named Richard Kim, and he designed the BMW i3 and i9 electric car series, and which is obviously a very different product than what we have. But a lot of ideas happen across industry. So over the years, got closer and closer together, and he offered to do the industrial design of our first product, the Wave 1. And as you can see, it's a pretty unique looking product. It's a very clean aesthetic. It has some ramification, or has some homage to some really famous designers like Dieter Rams, which is just a really clean look and feel to it. But also shows off some of the technology underlying as well. And some parts of the product, you can actually kind of see through it and see what's inside.
Yeah, and we tried to convey with that design what you were mentioning before, and our vision of we need to create something natural. So for us, the holy grail of this type of experience is the technology is there, you don't see it. Right?
Invisible even.
Exactly. It's invisible to us, but it's there for us. So we just extend our hands, or we say, let's connect, and then a hologram appears in front of you, right? The hologram of my mom, and then we just reach out and we feel each other without having to wear any wearable in our hands, right? So the idea of the design was so simple was because of that. We wanted to convey that simplicity, right? So we didn't want to create a very complex piece of technology from the outside. So as you said, Greg, inside of it, yes, there is a lot of things going on that we can talk about, but from the outside, when it's something very, very clean.
Yeah, something you can put on your table and leave out, and you want to look at it and leave it out there. You don't want to put it away.
Exactly.
That's really important. Let's talk a little bit about the technology, because it's like I was saying, it's hard to describe it. You have to experience it. And Ian and I got a chance. Ian, how would you describe the feeling of what it actually feels like?
I had like because again, we had done some research before you guys came in, and I had some like expectations of like, what the heck would this even be? Like, you know what I mean? I understood a little bit about what you guys, kind of were doing with sound waves and stuff like that. But until you actually try it, and they had us try a bunch of these games and whatnot, but there was just one that it felt like water was almost like coming out of your hands, and you're again, usually you play video games, you got your A button, your B button, your joystick, but like your hand, your body was part of this game, and it felt very natural. And you experienced it as well. It feels like feel like your hand was wet. You know what I mean? And it's like, how are you guys doing this? Like, it was very confusing. And when you're in that environment, you have the headset on, you're seeing it, it almost lines up very perfectly, and you're not even thinking about it. So again, I wish I could describe it, but there really is nothing out there right now that I could say I've experienced it like that. So the best way I could describe it is just like when you're in that moment working with this device, it feels very natural. And again, I know you guys are on, you have many iterations to go, but as far as where they are right now, it didn't like scare me. It didn't spook me. Like, it felt like that's what was supposed to happen, whereas I know there's other haptic stuff where they'll shock you, or, they'll stop you from doing something. It's like those are more intrusive ways to do it, but you guys have a very natural way. And that's where I was curious, is like, before this even was created, nobody's had the sort of sensation that you guys have built here. And something I remember you guys were talking about was like, you're not trying to recreate touch like we know it now. The point you made up was like, you're trying to like totally, redevelop what touch looks like in this digital world. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, how do you guys like, was there something where you all sat down and you're like, if this is the way we could design it, this is how we want it to be? Is there like that overall goal you guys have? Because I am curious, from where you are now, would you say, is it done, or is it you guys still have a lot more to go? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is the beginning, and we've been working over the years mostly on the hardware to get to a point that we felt really comfortable with. And now we have a long way to go and a lot of things to do on the content side. And we are not going to do it alone, right? We'll be working with a lot of developers to make it happen. But yeah, coming back to the technology, essentially, if we will open the device, right, what you will see, it is a lot of small speakers, basically. So the concept is based on the use of sound, which is a mechanical wave, to create pressure, right? When you go to a concert, you feel the music on your chest, right? And that is because the sound is a mechanical wave, and when it hits your body, is moving the air and is hitting your chest with that pressure. So we are using the same concept here. In this case, we are using ultrasound, which is as well a mechanical pressure, a mechanical wave. But in this case, we are using a high resolution, millimetric resolution, right? And essentially, we are working with all these speakers that we have inside the device. We make them work together to sculpt ultrasound, to sculpt that force field, so you can feel virtual objects. So you see a virtual ball in front of you. We work with those speakers to the point that we are able to mold, to sculpt that acoustic field to the shape, to give it the shape of a ball. right? And then you can manipulate that ball around. You can even split it with your hands or throw it back and forth. Right?
That's so mind-boggling that you can use sound that we can't hear it either. I mean, you can hear it a little bit, but it's a frequency that's different. You know, you certainly have to get like really close to hear it, but the fact that you can feel sound is just a mind-boggling thing. But it makes sense what you were saying in terms of when you're at a concert and like it's really loud and you can feel it in your chest. What's really amazing here is that you guys are also combining a lot of stuff together where there's also the hand tracking, right? So tell us a little bit more about how you're tracking the hands to then sculpt the sound to make these shapes, and because that's a whole nother thing, right? At first, I thought there was cameras in the device, in the Wave 1 that you guys made, but it sounds like you guys have found a way to do it using some other technology.
Yeah, so right now we are leveraging the hand tracking technology that the same headset brings. So we are starting with Oculus, with Meta Quest 2, and that headset has 4 cameras on the corners. So those are the cameras that are looking at your hands constantly. What we are doing is because we understand where your hands are and we understand where the physical device is, then we combine everything. And we are able to see where the hands are colliding with the virtual content. So that those collisions is where those are the collisions that we use to project the force field. Right? So you see a whale in front of you, right? Then we understand where your virtual hand is, and when the hand and the whale are in contact, then we project the tactility that you want to expect, and you can customize that tactility.
It's amazing. And the other thing too is the area of where you can feel this is much greater than just over the device, which is really cool because when you're wearing the headset, you start to kind of lose yourself in the experience, right? And because you can't see it physically in front of you anymore, and you start to kind of put your hands in all different places, and you can still feel it. So like how wide of a range is it, around the device?
Yeah, it is up to 3 feet above the device and 120 degrees around it. The concept is called, if we are geeking out here a little bit, it's called beamforming.
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 That's interesting.
When you have these medical imaging done with ultrasound, it is essentially the same concept as well. We use beamforming as well to look for the tissue that you wanna find, and what we do with beamforming is we are able to steer the beam wherever we want without having to physically move any part. Right? We just play with the timing between the different speakers, and by doing so, we are able to steer the beam. So we are doing that here. So the device, yes, has this footprint of a 13-inch laptop, and then we are able to steer the beam outside. Right? So even though that you are outside of the device, you are able to feel it there.
And we're using frequencies that don't penetrate your tissues. So when we steer the beam, it is reflected at your skin. So there's no radiation happening to your body. It's completely safe to humans.
Yeah, that's amazing. And some of the questions that we were getting too, where people are asking like, hey, can dogs hear the sound? Right? Can animals hear these frequencies?
There are different animals that can hear in the frequency that we are using, which is 40 kilohertz. But the way that we are using the technology is such that all the energy is concentrated in one specific point, which is, right on your hands, as opposed to spraying the energy around like a Bluetooth speaker would. So we've actually, tested. We have dogs at home ourselves, and we've tested with a few different animals. We've done multiple safety testing with third-party organizations as well, and it seems to be fine. There are certain animals, perhaps, that we haven't tested yet with, such as like bats. But this device won't be used everywhere in every circumstance. It'll be used in the home, on your living room, in your couch, on your workstation at home.
Yeah. Not in a cave.
No. It would be interesting. And what would you say is some of the bigger issues you guys have come across when you're trying to develop this? Because, I can imagine, trying to beam a certain part with ultrasound waves is a little bit difficult. It's something I'm not trying to solve anytime soon. So just curious about some of the things that kept you up at night and how'd you get around them?
Well, first of all, we had to learn about the technology. I mean, I come from the medical space, so I had some exposure to ultrasound, but because we started with the problem in mind, not with the technology in mind,
Yeah.
then we found the technology, we explored it, and then we started developing algorithms on it. So the beginnings were about learning a new in a new field. But if I show you the first prototype that we built, it looked like a tower. It was crazy, so ugly, so embarrassed about it.
How
But
did it work though? Did it kind of, yeah?
very limiting. So you will just feel one single point,
Yeah.
and it will move in circles. Just
Oh,
that.
wow.
Just
Okay.
that. It was crazy. Well, thanks to that prototype, we were able to attract some support and to put together this great team. But yeah, I mean, that was the first challenge. How do you bring that tower into something that you can sell to consumers,
It
right?
was about the size of a desktop PC
Oh, really?
case. Yeah. It was
So this
massive.
thing is large. Like
was really
your
large.
first model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was how long ago?
That was 2015, 16. Yeah.
So you guys have been working on this for a while. The other thing that's interesting as well is when you guys started, there wasn't, Oculus or Meta Quest, Metaverse, all these things that are now in the last year or so have been really getting, popular and commercialized, which now gives you the ability to create all these experiences. And many, many consumers now, we know how popular these headsets are and will continue to be for many years. So now it's like the world is opening up, right? But it's interesting you guys started so long ago before even the concept of metaverse and virtual reality was even like a big thing, right?
Yeah, the Oculus Rift shipped in 2016. Around the same time, we built our first prototype. And at the time, obviously, we tried the early prototypes of it. We tried the DK2, and they were pretty fantastic. So we saw the potential of what we call now the metaverse, or an immersive future, a mixed reality future coming. And we saw a lot of attention in the visual space, visual and audio space. And we thought, as we mentioned earlier, that, okay, we're obviously evolving in our societies, evolving in our technology. People will solve next generation 3D graphics, 3D visuals, spatial audio, but not a lot of people were focused on touch in the way that we wanted to solve for, which is all around the emotional aspect. Now it's pretty obvious that in the metaverse, you want to physically feel and interact. You want to put down the controllers. And so we are pretty excited that the timing is seen to line up. We've found ways to keep going as a company, to grow as a company, to evolve the technology to where we've been waiting for this inflection point, which we think happened last year, actually, when there was this massive inflection point of, even if you look at the Quest 2 headsets, 10 million were sold last year, I think in just Q4 alone, which is a really big spike versus how many existed previously, which I think was just a couple million. And so we think that what we've been building is something that's sort of inevitable. A lot of people forget with the first Oculus Rift, you actually needed a gaming controller, like an Xbox controller. And then they split the controller in half and had the, these little joystick controllers, which we use today. Now you're going to want to put the controllers down and then use your hands in a natural way. I love the way you phrase it, Ian, is it felt natural. We think that is needed for the metaverse to really take off. It has to feel natural and intuitive with very little instruction. And so that's why we're excited about what we've built. We're excited about getting out in the hands, and we're excited about building up our initial community. And we have a Kickstarter campaign that's live right now. The first people that will receive the units will be our early ambassadors, and we're going to learn this together on what to build next, what to improve on.
Yeah, we can't build this alone.
Yeah.
For sure. We were lucky as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the journey wasn't easy. So I think getting to this point is amazing. It feels great, but yeah, looking to the future.
So you can order it on Kickstarter. You can pre-order it on Kickstarter, and we've seen this, so we know it's here and it works. You guys are still finalizing it, getting ready to ship out. What does it cost? Because when we first looked at it with Ian, we were like, this thing's got to be expensive.
Yeah.
But what's the cost of it?
It retails at around $500, and depending on the tier, it will either be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on when you want your unit shipped. Also, if you want more than one unit.
Wow.
We found a lot of our community buy them in pairs, or have been using them in pairs when we've been testing with people the last 2 years. And so we've already sold out of the first tier, and There's a few more that will be opening up in the future, but right now you can go on and support one of the tiers if you're interested.
Wow.
That's great, and highly recommend. I mean, this is something that, you know, we tested it as, I keep saying this, but you know, when we had other people test it here as well. What my first reaction when I was playing one of the games, which we can describe this game and we'll overlay, you know, some videos of it, but the Hippo game where you're spraying these hippos with water.
Piglets.
I mean, piglets.
Yeah.
They're little
We'll
pigs.
do hippos next.
Yeah. It feels like the water is literally touching your hand. I mean, and we should talk also about what your mind is doing, because this was something that we were discussing, that, you know, your mind also really helps to create that interaction. But it really feels like cold water is just shooting out. And I thought it was so amazing. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I was 12 years old or 8 years old and I was a young kid and I was doing this, I would be just like, my mind would be, you know, exploding out of just how amazed I would be. I mean, even right now as a grown adult, I was amazed. So I can only imagine what it's like. And that's one thing I really like about this product, is the accessibility of who can use it is anyone. Doesn't matter if you're 6, doesn't matter if you're 80. You know, anyone can use this and have these amazing interactions, and your mind will just be blown by how amazing this is. And we're just at the beginning of it, right? Like, tell me a little bit more about the production of some of these experiences and games, because I know there's a lot that goes not only between the hardware and building a device, but integrating it and creating these experiences.
Well, I'll say on the topic of age, we have tested this with kids age 2 to 5 up to age 85. You know, my grandma, and we've tested it first with our third co-founder's son when he was 2 as well, and we've tested it with kids. We continue to test with older adults. We continue to test it across the spectrum, and what's really great to see is actually kids' reactions. Obviously, you're on point. The kids love it, and even older adults also find it fantastical. And that's exciting for us, that it is so accessible across all age ranges.
Yeah, that was really, really important. You mentioned before the how these experiences are so friendly, no? Or you use similar words, and that is very important. We think a lot about safety, not only physical safety, but also psychological safety, since this is gonna be for the whole family, and you know, the metaverse or these virtual worlds could be daunting. Right, so we need to be really careful about that, and the way we design the experience is always based on having the audience in mind, so who is going to be using it, and we want it to be very familiar, right? So one of the concepts that we implemented in this immersive home, it is what we call the inner circle. We thought that was very important to us. When you go into other platforms, like Meta Horizons, for instance, you basically go there and meet strangers, right? Also friends, but you just go there and meet whoever is right there in the experience. And we wanted to focus on the experiences that with the people that are the closest to you, right? Where you feel more comfortable, right? The people that you really trust. Basically, because we are adding a sense of touch that is so intimate for us, right? And we don't want just that you send the sense of touch to someone that you don't know, right? So at Emerge Home, when you have an interaction where you are sending a sense of touch, you only are able to do that with the people that you explicitly invite, the people that you trust. So the inner circle was very important to us, and we think that is going to be a very interesting and very important way to access the metaverse. And we can talk a little bit more about that, but yeah. When you go to other experiences like Rec Room, and I think I mentioned to you before, Greg, that I've been using VR with my parents every week for a year now, and it can become overwhelming, right? The feeling of being surrounded by strangers, and you wanna just have quality time with your parents, right, or with your friends, right? But the feeling of being surrounded by strangers is daunting, is very overwhelming, it's real. So we wanted to focus on this type of more intimate experience.
And the great thing about the concept of, we call them the circles, is sometimes you have, or actually most people have more than one circles. So for instance, in my Emerge Home experience, I have circles for Isaac and Mauricio as founders of Emerge. I have circles with my 2 younger brothers, and we play games across. And historically, we've played games on PC, on the Switch, on mobile. And so now in VR, we have our own circle just with our family. And then I've since met a lot of their friends, and we've created other circles that we play with. So depending on the situation, depending on the game, we might activate a different circle and play just with that group of friends. But it's a trusted circle.
That's cool. And then in terms of the games or experiences, tell me a little bit more about how you guys decided to create specific games or specific experiences like the ones that we tried. What was interesting is that there were some that were like the one with the piglets really felt like a good use case for, this device and this kind of experience. Tell us a little bit more about how you guys are kind of picking, what kind of use cases, what kind of experiences, and also how do you build those? Because I know that like building your own games versus having developers build their games and integrating it, can be a lot of work. So tell us a little bit more about that.
We do have limited resources, obviously, as a startup. So we have engaged other studios that are experts at building games, specifically VR games for Quest. And it's been very experimental. We've tested a lot over the years on what works, what doesn't work. We found that the best games are the ones where I always come back to this concept called Maya, the most advanced yet acceptable concept. We're creating a new language of interaction using your hands. And the touch, the sensation of touch that we create is not one that replicates the real world where it feels like a hard object or the feeling of velvet or leather. And so when you think about creating a new language in the virtual world and you think about the gameplay interaction, the game mechanics that you can enable, they're infinite. And so we found like the game that we were talking about where you're washing these little piglets and shooting water out of your hands. Those types of games worked really well because they were simple. It sort of worked instantly as you held out your hand, and then you adapted from there. You understood instantly, hey, there's water coming out of my hand. I can move it around and shoot and change my hand position and open my fingers up, and it sprays water in a different form. So we found some game mechanics that work really well and other ones that don't work as well, but we're still iterating with them. But we work with developers to build those games. Right now, since we are a small company, we've been working with just a few select developers to make sure the experience is really great from day one before we open it up in the future to other developers.
Yeah, because it's almost like you guys have made a brand new controller. Like it's almost a new way to control everything around you, right? So it's like if you don't have the right understanding of the possibilities. Again, there's always drawbacks to everything too. Like with our technology, you can do a lot, but there's also things you have to be careful of that you don't cross a line or you don't go a certain direction. So, when you are coming up with these games or you're bringing on these developers that you're going to work close with, are there things that you need to stay away from that or like, hey, this will never work? And then, with the new technology, are there things that, obviously what we experience today, you can't, do with a normal controller. So there's that right there. But when you're developing these things, like there might be potential for games we've never played before. That's just super exciting because, we're so used to just like A, B, whatever controller. Like you guys have opened up a full, almost 4 dimensions of playability here. So.
And the idea is that we condense all those learnings from the past years working with this technology, and we've created this handbook.
Nice.
That
Okay.
we give to developers, so it is easy to understand what are the best things that we can build together. The vision that we have for us is, well, at some point it will be very, very easy to develop with our system, and a regular user without no coding skills will be just able to plug and play different activities. Imagine a drop-down menu where you can just select a particular activity, particular visuals, and then you just have there your tactile effect, your imagine an Instagram with the tactility. So that type of creation, or TikTok, right, where you can add effects, right, to the video that you just recorded. It'll be very, very easy.
Nice.
Yeah, the age we live in now of what or who a developer is changed quite significantly, and we are very interested in that aspect, as Isaac mentioned, of who gets to be a developer. We would love if it's more on the side of creator platforms where you're able to customize your own experience and tweak things in a certain way where you don't necessarily have to know how to code. So those are all things we're currently building and for testing for future releases.
There's also a lot of, as we were just talking earlier, there's a lot of potential use cases outside of all of this that are yet to be kind of dreamed and imagined and created, right? I mean, the fact that what Ian said, it's a new controller. It really is. It's a new controller that's hands-free, that could open up a whole new world of new kind of experiences. And we were talking about some of them. I mean, I was even thinking, in terms of like augmented reality and where a lot of this stuff could go, could really be interesting, right? I mean, now we are, packed with sensors all over. I have an Apple Watch. It's collecting my heart rate, right, in real time. A headset on that you can start to see what's going on. I can only imagine, a meditation app where maybe my heart rate could be displayed in a heart that I can touch with my hand and start to meditate and slow my heart rate down visually and with the feeling in my hand. I mean, how cool would that be? Feeling the heart pulsing in the hand. I mean, that would be a really cool experience, right?
And what if that heart rate is not yours, is someone else's, right?
Meditating with someone else too,
Right.
feeling each other's hearts.
Yeah, you see
And-
how your loved one is feeling right now, no? Because you see that emotion ball morphing in front of you, no? And like, oh, something's going on.
Yeah, it really does open up a whole new aspect of where all this is heading, which is really exciting. And I want to ask you guys, like, this is the Emerge Wave 1, right? So I can only imagine where this is heading in the future, but can you guys give us a little bit of, get our imaginations going of where this could go and what are maybe some of the use cases that you guys are seeing or maybe hearing from the community that are getting you guys like really excited of where this could go?
I think I'll mention the aspect that we touched upon of this being potentially a new controller, and then the topic you just brought up around combining this with biometric data is really interesting because that's an area that we're very interested in pursuing on what could be next after Wave 1. At the surface level, this could be a new controller, a new interface, but the real thing that we're trying to build and focus on is actually a platform for emotion. Because as we see, our even daily behavior evolving, we are engaged with different types of products, and we're becoming more digitized and tracking our health, tracking, our behavior online, tracking and interacting in new ways and new senses. We're really interested in what happens when, in the similar way that your Apple Watch collects different biometric data and health data, it will start to build a profile of you from a certain angle, from a certain perspective. We're really interested in building an emotional profile, and touch happens to be a very unique conduit right now. And we're also interested in combining this with other data streams in the future. We collect a lot. Obviously, when you're in VR, there's a lot happening. You're seeing things visually with your eyes. You're hearing things. You're speaking and interacting with the other people on the other side. And so we are interested in how does this evolve to allow you to connect with someone truly on an emotional level.
Yeah, as humans, we are so bad at understanding our own emotions. So even worse than understanding other people's emotions, right? So that was something very, very important for us. And we've seen how in social media there were some attempts to achieve that. I mean, the emoji movement was just that, no? It was a way to convey how you were feeling. A little bit of a poor attempt, but the first step, no? And we are very interested in creating that profile. And at the end of the day, everything happens in our brains, right? Even what you were feeling today, right? Essentially, we are this computer where we have these mechanoreceptors in our hands, and you were feeling pressure on your fingers, but it was all sent out to your brain, and here everything is coded and decoded. So that is where we think the future will go towards, right? Understanding better and better our brains, where to tap, and then through those brain-computer interfaces, we'll be able to understand our emotions, send those emotions to someone. Wouldn't be amazing to think of someone and that person will feel your presence, or that you are thinking about that person, right? That you care and you are there for them. Yeah.
It really helps bring people closer in, this virtual world, like you guys are saying, where a lot of people talk about the metaverse or virtual experiences as, oh, well, why would I want to live in this headset? And the reality is that it can actually bring people closer. You just have to use the right mechanisms to do that and the right experiences too,
Mhm.
right?
Well, I think that topic's actually really important because for us, the VR current manifestation is not the end goal. And in many ways, even I struggle with sometimes with being in VR too long because you are isolated and you are set apart from your real world. But it's true, you can design an experience well in VR to where you do feel present and in an experience and connected with someone that's not physically with you. But this aspect of this sort of platform for emotion is what we plan for the long run and will be continuous. These different devices are temporary. Oculus Quest 2 is fantastic, I think, by far the most impressive piece of VR equipment on the market today. There will be other ones, obviously from that company themselves, but also other companies that will come onto market. AR is really exciting for us as well. So are holograms. Our own devices evolving quite substantially over the next even months. And so as all these devices evolve and people adopt different technologies, what will remain continuous and what will continuously be stronger and stronger and add more value to our community is that emotional profile, that emotional platform. So no matter what device you're using, you're able to express yourself, better over time.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the community a little bit because, as you guys were saying, this is a great device to use, on your own, but it's even better and really meant to be used with someone else who also has a device. So tell us a little bit about kind of who's backing you guys so far, like in terms of Kickstarter, and also what do you get like today, right? When you back it, when you receive it, and then what can we expect kind of down the line, but really focusing on what do you get today when you back this project? Because I know that's what a lot of people will be asking, how many games can I play? How many experiences? What do I get right now? And who can I play this with? And kind of what does the community look like right now?
Yeah, so today you get the Immerse Wave 1 device, and you get this Quest 2 application, and in that application we have several games, and this is just the beginning, right? So we have today these 6 mini games that we are gonna continue evolving over the next few months. We are gonna be building out more games, more rooms. The Immerse Home experience is gonna grow. And the third aspect is this phone mobile application. So you have for iOS and Android a mobile application that is essentially your bridge between your real life connection and the virtual ones. So you'll be able to see your circles, the inner circles that we were talking about in there. You can customize them. You can customize your avatar and your environment as well from that application. And something that we thought it could be important was the coordination of the experience, right? When I try to coordinate with my parents every Saturday, I use how many technologies I use to coordinate for that experience. I use WhatsApp, and then we jump into a Zoom call, and are you there? So, do you have your headset on? Okay, let's go. So we wanted a very clean way to coordinate, so everything happens there. And also because what Lai was talking about was about this continuum of in the metaverse, no? The blend of the physical world with our screens and the virtual environments. When you live the virtual experience, you don't want to lose your contacts, right? You just were having fun with your friends there. Well, why do you want to leave them in your Oculus Quest, no? You want them with you. So that application allows you to stay in touch with them. You keep the conversation there. And you were asking about who is following us, no? Who is backing us?
There's been some interesting people that have backed the Kickstarter. People that have honestly built a lot of the previous generation in really exciting games that are on the market today, including the former co-founder of Blizzard Entertainment. We have Matthew Ball, the famous metaverse essayist and thought leader in the space, the co-founder of Twitch, Kevin Lin. Even Paris Hilton, who some people call the queen of the metaverse, has backed the campaign. So we're really excited to engage some of these folks that are building different parts of the metaverse. And the people we're really looking to join our community are people that currently play VR games, like myself and my younger brothers. We play lots of different games, and we're kind of ready for something else different. There's plenty of shooter games out there, plenty of racing games, plenty of horror games, and we, at the end of the day, just want to hang out with one another and connect because we don't live in the same city. And that's who Emerge Home is built for. And I think another aspect that you get when you back a tier and receive a device is you essentially become part of Emerge, and we are iterating our games over the next few months based on feedback from our community. So I think that's a pretty exciting aspect as well.
We have a Discord channel as well.
Yeah, we have Discord channels to where we're already taking feedback and ideas from our community and incorporating them into the next generation, next releases.
That's really cool. I'd love to see that. And also something that you can share with others. You know, I love technology that you can like invite friends over and like sit them down and say, I got to show you this new piece of tech. And then people leave and they tell like everyone they know about this new experience they had and how like mind-boggling it is. You know, that's how it was here. I think everyone who tried it's going to be going back and telling all their friends and family and showing them the video of what they did, trying to explain like the experience, but it's really something you
just can't explain. I got no way to explain.
So now it's I got to have one of these just so I can show it to everybody and actually have them experience it, because it's really, I mean, one of the other experiences that you guys had us go through is when you're setting the heart and you create, you know, a heart with your hand. And what's amazing is you feel the heart like you're either receiving a heart or you send a heart, and you can feel it inside the cup of your hands. Like it really, it's amazing that even though your hand is over it, that somehow these waves are going inside your hand. I mean, that was pretty cool.
It was natural. Like, again, that's the only way. Like, again, I can't explain it. But if I could explain it, like, you know, when you do make that heart shape, it actually feels like the heart is almost like coming out of your hands. Like, and this is why, like, there's no other way to, you know, really get it unless you, again, experience this. And you mentioned something about saying Emerge Home. Does that mean there's like an Emerge, you know, enterprise option? Do these things get bigger? You know, do you guys have any ideas of like, could you technically make a whole floor out of this? And like, there's possibilities for that. Is the scalability real, or do you really want to keep it very simplistic and really don't grow out of that, you know, 1 foot by 1 foot footprint?
Yeah, the technology is pretty flexible. So yes, you will have multiple devices. They can actually talk to each other. So that is a feature that we implemented early on. So yeah, you can have one here and one there.
In our R&D labs, not currently available though.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, as you said, we are very focused on its simplest form, right? An experience that is very meaningful and is focusing on this a long time seated experience that you're gonna have in the metaverse. So yeah, is enabling this space in front of you, right?
Gotcha.
Once again, we're really interested in listening to our community, and should we find that there's some crazy use case that we haven't seen, you know, we'll work really hard to implement that. But in our labs, as Isaac mentioned, we have that ability to tile them. Range is infinite.
Wow.
But we found that for kind of the perfect cost / benefit of range, the current device is situated perfectly for that.
Yeah. I honestly, again, I didn't know price before, and hearing they're $500, I thought it was gonna be worth like $1,500 to $2,000. In all honesty, like when you guys brought the thing and I looked at it, I was like, I could see somebody spending $2,000 on that. But 500, like that's pretty reasonable for your first prototype and getting their foot in the door. Like that surprised me, really did. And I'm even curious how you guys are able to do that at that price. So,
well, to be honest, we've had a lot of interest to charge a lot more, but our ambitions and our goal was always to create a consumer device, something that our families could afford, something my brothers can afford.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to price this at a number that was affordable to our community, and then everything we're doing for the next years is to drive the cost even lower.
Wow.
And drive the experience, you know, even better.
Yeah, the accessibility aspect that we were talking about before, that has driven our innovation actually. So on the content side, because we want to create these experiences that are so friendly and accessible. On the hardware side, we can talk about it. We design our own sensor.
Wow.
Because we wanted to drive the cost down. We went into that field and we designed our own sensor.
Wow.
And that sensor is going to be the heart of the next generation of devices.
Yeah, this is definitely a project worth backing. If you're into virtual reality and you're into these kind of hand-free experiences, I had a Leap Motion controller a long time ago. It seems like it's been a while now since they came out. And I bought that early on because I wanted to experience what that was like. And that's just hand tracking, right? I mean, now these devices are doing it with cameras, but on the headset. This thing was doing it, you know, in a tiny little package back then, years ago. But it's really exciting to see where this stuff is heading. So if you are like cutting edge stuff and you want to experience this amazing new kind of experience that you can only really feel and experience like in person, then definitely check this out. I want to ask you guys, it's pretty amazing where we are today, but like where is all this heading? Like in 10 years, you know, where do you guys imagine Emerge being with your product, with, you know, these experiences and the whole platform and community? Like where do you guys want to see this go?
Yeah, so the underlying platform, actually, that is what keeps us super excited, is that emotion platform that Sly was mentioning. So in 10 years, we will have that emotion platform that is going to help you understand your emotions. It's going to help you transmit your emotions to someone else. And on top of that platform, we'll have an ecosystem of products. So this is the first one, the first baby step. And this one is based on the sense of touch and is using ultrasound. This one is going to evolve to the point that it becomes very, very affordable, very, very sleek. So this sensor is going to allow us to build a device that is going to be very, very thin. At some point, you probably even don't notice that it's in front of you, but it's going to be there. And then we are going to keep incorporating other technologies to increase the immersiveness of the experience. And the last step for us, or one of the last steps in this 10-year vision, it is tapping into our brains, right? The idea of actually understanding that directly into our brains and sending that sense of presence to someone else, that is very, very exciting.
Wow. That sounds like next level. You guys are, I mean, my mind is blown by everything that I've seen and everything you guys are telling me. And I can only imagine where this is heading when I think about augmented reality, holograms, the fact that right now, you know, I'm experiencing this with a headset on. I can only imagine once we can start experiencing this without a headset, where things can be kind of overlaid on top of each other and you can start to manipulate objects and feel this feedback happening without, you know, gloves and without anything and hands-free. I mean, I can only imagine where this is heading, and I'm super excited.
The experience is pretty magical in an augmented reality scenario. So either with AR glasses, and we have some demos of that in our office, or a hologram where you don't have anything on your head at all. Both are pretty magical experiences. So those are in our imminent future as those products come on the market, like Izek said.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, guys, this has been really amazing. Thank you so much for bringing this technology here to Studio Labs and allowing us to review it on our channel. If you haven't seen our review video, make sure to check that out. We have a full video reviewing. You can see the reactions. You can see some of the games and experiences that the Emerge team, you know, put us through. And really, it's really mind-boggling. I think it's something that, you know, you can only really experience it firsthand. It's, as you've heard, it's hard to describe it. So I really encourage all the listeners out there to back the campaign, check it out, get involved, because this is the beginning of what feels like going to be a huge industry. So hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
And thanks again for showing us this technology, bringing it out here, coming all the way from California to Derry, New Hampshire, and this amazing...
in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
Snowstorm, yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. What a pleasure. And by the way, welcome to LA anytime.
Yeah.
I will be coming and checking it out for sure. I want to see some of this cutting edge stuff you guys are working on.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.